to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane. Starring Ryan Rash.
I am 99% angel, but damn that 1%.
And Dale Hummel.
False opinions are like false money. Struck first by all the guilty men, and thereafter circulated by honest people who perpetuate the crime without knowing what they are doing.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Ryan, how good a shape are you in?
I don't even know what the hell you're talking about now, crazy man.
How was your connection at O'Hare today?
It was terrible. It was awful. It was tragic. I had to run from F all the way to C.
There is no F.
Or E, I don't know. I ran through 3 terminals.
And you made it, obviously.
I did. But the travel gods are literally screwing with me the most. And they don't normally. And I'm not happy about it. Because when I flew to the North Dakotas, I sat in the Denver airport for 8 hours. My flight was delayed over 5 hours. And then they canceled that one, but they got me on a different one. Last night, I get an alert that my flight's supposed to leave at 7:30 in the morning. And because the crew, I guess there's only one United crew in Fargo, North Dakota. I don't know. They hadn't had enough off time, so they had to delay the flight 2 hours. That screwed everything up. Was going to miss my connection. Had to get on a totally different flight. But I made it to West Virginia. But I was very concerned about running through the D's and the E's to get to the C's or wherever the hell it was a wreck.
I can imagine. I get very concerned when I book a connection that's less than an hour, and I do it on a regular basis.
This one was like an hour and 5 minutes, but the plane was late.
Yeah, not good. Not good at all.
And this point in case right here is why I never take carry-ons, because that just slows you down if you have to run. And I'm telling you, some old lady bit the dirt. And to that old lady, if you're listening, which I don't think you are, I'm sorry, but you had to move.
That is a valid point about the carry-on, and I've had to run through airports with the carry-on.
That's why I never take them, because now everything's a connection. There's like very few direct flights to anywhere other than like O'Hare, and so I never take them because of that, and it slows you down. But we're here in West Virginia, and I don't know. The hotel people are a little scared of me, and that's okay. But we'll make it.
How is the legislative process going in your state of Texas?
Oh, well, I love my state. And like I'm telling you, I was never a real big Abbott fan. Like, I didn't mind him, but one real big Abbott fan, then Rona hit. And now he's really got his shit back together. And I think he's going to get reelected. I'm not going to lie. I think he is.
Oh, I think the way he's coming out against the issues in the border, the way he's coming out against those that jumped on a private jet on the taxpayer bill and went to Washington, D.C., and he's going to arrest them and bring them back to the legislative building and make them be there to vote. He's gaining a lot of ground.
I think that he should just absolutely not pay them. That would be better than arresting them.
I think he's already put that into play.
Well, I know, but like I want it to not happen. Like them not get paid.
Well, how could why should they get paid?
Well, I don't think any of the politicians should get paid because they get paid in so many other ways. They don't need a real check. But
this is true.
I'm just saying. But
true. How'd you like how the chameleon was praising those Dems that flew to Washington, and then they got her a little bit scared about 5 of them testing positive for COVID. What'd she have to go do?
I think Camel Toe has the Rona, and they're just lying to us. And the Texas Democrat people gave it to her, and I think it's hysterical.
I am the most concerned about the reason why she went and got tested when she's vaccinated. Obviously, there were symptoms.
Who the hell knows? I don't talk to Camel Toe. I don't know her people.
I've heard nothing. They tried to cover it up, and it just didn't work. Something about a doctor's appointment on a Sunday that didn't fly very well.
No. Mm-mm.
But she was praising the fact that they were doing what was right, and this whole thing is very difficult for me to wrap my head around. But they were interviewing some of those Democrats, and they were saying they were not going back until they thought they could get a federal mandate of some sort to standardize all elections across all states. This is not going to happen. So in theory, if they're telling the truth, they're never going back, which would be fine, other than Texas cannot continue to legislate anything until they do.
I think that now more than ever, the entire world is such a damn mess and people don't even realize it. I don't know if they don't pay attention or it's just been this, like, it has, there's always been mess in politics and the world and government and all this stuff, but like, and maybe because it has been that way for so long, like, people just do not realize that now it is a different level of shit show. Completely.
I absolutely believe it is. And I don't think the average person out there is fully aware.
No, they don't. No, they're just blissfully going on without their lives about, like, nothing's wrong.
They're listening down the ring and they're going to get it. They're going to understand exactly what's going on.
Okay, whatever. Next.
So with that said, Ryan, you and I both admittedly made the personal choice to get vaccinated for various reasons.
The only reason I got vaccinated, 2 reasons. Number one, my mother was going to disinherit me if I didn't. And I've worked very hard for my inheritance.
You've busted your butt.
I mean, I have literally worked the hardest. So I need that. And number 2, I really thought, and it's not going to be this way, and I don't like admitting when I'm wrong, but I will admit when I'm wrong. I truly thought to fly, you were either going to have to take a COVID test every damn time or have proof of vaccination. And I was wrong. They're not. Because today on my flight, the pilot got on there. And by the way, there was a really hot pilot in Fargo, but he wasn't on the pilot of my plane.
We do not need to hear these
Ooh,
things.
he was hot. But anyway.
No.
So flying from Chicago to the Pittsburghs of it all, the little pilot gets on there and gives his little spill. And he says, unfortunately, we still have to wear these masks and all this stuff. But we are very hopeful that by the beginning of fall, we will not have to do that on an airplane anymore. So I was wrong.
No, and maybe at least you don't have to feel guilty when you go maskless into some of the businesses that have their sign up. If you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to lose sleep.
I wouldn't have lost any sleep. I don't sleep anyway.
If I take a straw poll in our local Walmart or Meijer or wherever I go that has that sign there and I see no one in there with a mask, does that mean we're at 100% vaccination rate?
Yeah, you go ahead and think that.
That's where I'm at. I think we're good. I think we're gold. So it does concern me, Ryan. And again, I made the personal choice to get vaccinated. I'm not saying that that's for everybody, but I do strongly believe that that is a personal choice. Gather the information, make that decision. The fact that they're pushing this so hard does cause me to pause and think why. I'm not going down that real deep conspiracy theory, but I feel as though I'm missing something because they're pushing so hard. It's almost self-defeating that people are being, they're nervous of why are you doing this?
Well, that idiot bitch that's the White House press secretary today, like, asked Trump to make a PSA for vaccinations.
Amazing. She and I'm going to talk about her a lot today. She's amazing.
I was just like, woman, really? Okay, next. But
what about the Biden's Homeland Secretary of State declaring that anyone who attempts to enter the U.S. via maritime journey, basically any of the Cubans that are being executed or thrown in prison for life for protesting, they're not allowed to come to our shores. But yet we allow anybody to come through the southern border that would so chooses for any reason? How is this possible? What about the hypocrisy there?
Think about who hired him, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. He's an idiot, just like his boss. Did you know that we get to go to Canada on August 9th?
I was aware of that, but I'm still, because we need to bring a gentleman down that we work very closely with for embryo transfer this fall, and I've been monitoring this very closely because he has not been able to join us for over a year now. And I am cautious because I'm fearful that the Delta variant...
This is why your children have to go to the dollar store.
Yes, the Delta variant may change that date, in my opinion. I think Canada is that nervous about COVID, or they've proven to be in the past year, that I worry that date won't hold. I hope it does. I have some calves in Canada that I need to get down here, and I'd prefer to haul them myself, but I can't do it until that date or they clear that. I guess.
Hey, if any of you Canada people are listening, those 3 shows that canceled because of Rona that I was supposed to judge, if y'all ever get to have shows again, don't forget about me.
You're still here.
I'm still here.
You are still here. So with all that said, I think there is a lot going on right now, Ryan, and I even talked to you a little bit about having to be on the circus, but I don't know how we're going to find the time in your schedule or mine to get that done. What about Jen Psaki, our circle back lady's statement that she says we are flagging problematic posts on Facebook?
I think I dislike her more than Biden and Camel Toe put together. I'm going to be real honest.
I dislike her, but I love the fact that she comes out and admits that the White House is actually flagging problematic posts for Facebook, and anything that is going out there that's negative towards their policy or their administrative goals, they're flagging it. Facebook is pulling it down, thus admitting that Facebook is censoring on behalf of the government. Ryan, I don't know if you understand this fully or not, but that is unconstitutional, illegal. It's all of those things. And that is exactly what Trump's lawsuit's all about. So this confession that Jen Psaki is openly threw out there, and I'm sure it was a mistake. I'm sure she would love to circle back and try to answer that question again. But this is the exact thing that Trump wanted when he can prove that the White House has censored individuals on Facebook or what they're wanting to post. It's okay for Facebook to. I don't like the fact that Facebook is censoring or that they can censor, but that's another debate. When the government is basically controlling and censoring things that are unfavorable to their policy, that is a communist state, whatever you want to call it. It is going down a very, very bad path. So it boils down to the government giving private organizations immunity, basically. Okay, Facebook, we're going to treat you, we're not going to be as harsh on you in trade for censorship of views that are not favorable to the agenda of our administration. That that's terrible. I don't know how else to put it. I can't even imagine this is happening in our country. Very disturbing.
The whole ludicrousy of this whole administration and things that they will admit to, that like, and again, if Trump would have been doing this,
oh my,
like they would have like tried to force themselves into the White House and put this man in cuffs.
You're exactly right. And we have the Biden administration. They censored things that are unfavorable. Everything from ivermectin posts that actually were effective in early treatment to any arguments that stated that COVID may have originated in the Wuhan lab. They blocked anything that referred to Hunter's laptop. They actually came out and said it was remember in the debate, the third debate, Joe came out and said, well, this is a Russian conspiracy against this laptop. It doesn't exist. It's not Hunter's. We know that's all false. Yet you see nothing on social media because Facebook has blocked it under Biden's suggestion or request. If there are any facts contrary to what the Biden administration wants to have put out there, it's basically shut down. So if you take this, Ryan, and combine it with the social payments, we're getting child tax credits in the mail every month now. We have an increase in taxes. We have a $3.5 trillion bill that they're trying to pass for human infrastructure. I call this social programs is a much better term for it. This is nothing short of socialism, and we're even pushing towards communism. And I don't think anybody's aware of it.
I just told you a couple of days ago that when you were complaining about Cuba, that I don't know why you're complaining about Biden not doing anything about Cuba, but because in Biden's soul, he's a communist.
I believe that to be true. I think anything to maintain power. And when you put these, when you take the social payments, the child tax payments, and you take other social programs that people are getting paid, basically like a welfare state. Once those programs are in place, Ryan, it's so difficult to pull them away because people become reliant on it. And that's becoming reliant on the government. That's becoming reliant on that party that is in office that gets their vote to continue to get the payments. And it's a never-ending cycle. And look at every country out there, whether it be Russia, China, Venezuela, Cuba, all of these socialistic, communistic societies. Are there anybody trying to flee into those countries because they want a better life? Zero. No one. Zero. The only good thing about Biden being in control and doing what he's doing and pushing us that direction, guess what? In a few years, we won't have a conflict at the border. There'll be no crisis because nobody will want to come into this country. We'll be just like everybody else. I think the theory is we're willing to make the poor more poor in order to lessen that wealth gap between the rich and the poor. And everybody, irregardless of how hard they want to work or the skills they bring to the table, should be on the exact same level. That goes against everything I stand for, everything I want for my children, or all the stock show kids out there. If they're willing to get out there and bust their ass and try to make something for themselves and outwork everybody else around them, shouldn't they be rewarded for that?
Yeah. That's kind of the American way, I thought.
No, that is the problem. The American way is being flushed down the toilet by Mr. Biden.
He's a lovely human being.
And the chameleon. It goes against capitalism, entrepreneurship. It cancels the American dream. takes away the incentive for anybody to want to succeed. And when that fails, we go down that path. We will become a welfare state dependent on the government. And it's a very sad situation. As we continue to go that way, just like the shortage in a lot of our supply chains, small businesses don't want to fill that gap. They can't find the labor to do it. They don't want to pay the taxes once they succeed. It's just a never-ending cycle that somehow has to be broken up.
The thing that is horrifying to me, I don't know if we have record high unemployment, but I mean, it's close, it's whatever, all these things. And I mean, I literally travel the country more than any other person I know, and I know I say that every week, but I have never seen so many help wanted signs. It's like at every business. I mean, we're talking from gas stations to restaurants. I mean, everywhere. Like, and they wouldn't be out there if people wanted to go to work.
You're absolutely right. It's everywhere. It's a job shortage or an employee shortage because they don't have to go to work. We're getting closer. More states are excluding that unemployment bonus or not accepting it. So we're getting closer. There was something I found entertaining. I think it was a gaffe on Sleepy Joe's part. He comes out and makes the statement, Facebook is killing people.
Yes, I heard that.
Oh my, this puts a few bumps in that yellow brick road love fest that he and big tech have going on. They're in bed with him, allowing him to censor what goes out on social media. And that dumbass comes out with a gaffe saying Facebook is killing people. Do you know when he always talks about how he's going to get in trouble, Ryan? Do you think
that would probably be one of those times?
I think that is the prime example. I promise this was not in his talking points. Ryan, that one got Joe in trouble. No question.
No, I'm sure it did. I do not think that he was supposed to be talking about Facebook. And where did he even come up with that?
I think he was it's one of those, I think he was walking somewhere and he just cannot answer a question without the teleprompter, without the coaching, and he tried. How'd that work out? Not so well. That's like stabbing that golden goose and still wanting that goose to lay those eggs for you. I mean, it's amazing.
And did anybody say, excuse me, sir, could you clarify that?
I didn't get to see any further. I don't know. Then his press secretary, Miss Circleback, Jen Psaki, comes out and says, well, this White House has the highest ethical standards of any administration in history. But then we have the facts. During the time Joe was vice president, Hunter receives $5 million from Chinese oil, $3.5 million from the wife of the former Moscow mayor. This is clear why they gave Hunter the money. It's nothing short of pay to play. Purchase access to the vice president of the free world. Seems logical. They continue to lie about this, Ryan. And there is more and more evidence every single day. They get proven that they were in a pay to play situation, yet it gets zero traction in the media. And I talked to you about this before we started that you hadn't heard about, but it's out there on the news. Guess who's become an artist?
Yeah, you said that Hunter is now Vincent van Gogh.
He has I believe he's made a sale of one of his paintings, and this is just what I call modern art. You and I splashing shit up onto paint onto a canvas of some sort. One at $500,000, several priced at $75,000 to $250,000. In the solution on the White House, they came out and said, okay, Hunter's going to sell these paintings. We do not think we should disclose who's buying them. That way we can't be preferential towards them. Mm-hmm. I like that statement. So we're not going to know who's buying them, so it's okay.
Basically what that says is they do not want us to know who it is, because if we knew who it is, we'd all be calling.
Exactly, and their arrogance, thinking that's going to patch it up and it'll be okay, that we're that ignorant. I surrender. I can't even fathom. It's hard for me to comprehend. How much more blatant is it? I understand art is subjective, but that is total crap that Hunter's selling art for this amount of money, knowing the track record of the Biden family, the pay to play, everything that comes around it. It is unbelievable. Secretary of State Blinken requests that the UN look at a history of racism in the U.S. Our Secretary of State is asking the United Nations to investigate racism in the U.S. They're not saying a word about to the UN that maybe we should go and look at what's going on in Cuba, China, or Russia, all the enslaved people there and the treatment that are being received. We'd rather spend resources to call ourselves out for systematic racism rather than look at the true problems in the world. This is our Secretary of State asking the UN, we have a racism problem in the U.S. I am so sick of this critical race theory and everything that goes along with it, Ryan. I can't begin to explain.
Okay. I am going to be Jensaki, and I'm going to circle back to something here for a minute.
You circle right back.
I do believe that our country is divided. I do believe there are racist people in this country, just like there are homophobic people. There are people that
and there always will be.
Right. There is a group of or a faction of people that hates something about everybody. Like that's just whatever it is. But if racism was as severe an issue as what they are all making it out to be, why didn't Obama address it when he was the first Black African American president of the United States and he was there for 8 years? No one can answer that question for me.
Seems pretty interesting. Why, if we're so racist, why are a lot of minorities trying to get into this country to make a better life for themselves? They should go elsewhere if we're that bad.
Duh. I mean, please.
It is wearing on me. I told you last week about the school board call I got that I was a little upset over.
Oh,
I received another recorded school board call last night. Recorded message. They're circling back
recorded
now, Ryan.
Message.
They're circling back now and saying that was a mistake that they put out last week, that actually we're going to look at COVID rates in the area, and as of right now, when school begins, they will not need to wear a mask.
Oh, and that's sweet of them.
They're circling right back and making a change. I think they maybe caught some heat. I can promise you I called my school board members.
Well, I'm on this 31-day travel Ganza, so news is not, I'm not real up to date on the news, but I did talk about last week, I'm pretty sure, about how Los Angeles put in a mask mandate again. And there have been
fist fights.
Well, but there have been multiple governors from all over the United States say, yeah, we're not doing it.
Yep.
It's not happening.
And I don't, you said they're going to push back, maybe not at the governor level, but the real people level. But I think it's even going to be at the governor level.
Yeah, I mean, there's been more than a handful that say, yeah, we're not doing that. And surprisingly, they're not just all, South, but...
Agreed.
But there have been fistfights, from what I understand. They're getting a little violent over there, but it's LA, so...
On a positive note, Ryan, even though it appears as though the American flag probably holds less respect by a larger portion of our population than it ever has, I can tell you that maybe we've done some good. That just about every day I'll get a text from a show somewhere in the country from somebody that said, hey, we had the flag up, we had the national anthem before we started the show. And I think as this administration continues to push against and not allow the flag to be what it truly is, but rather something that symbolizes critical race theory and separatism, everything you can imagine that they're pushing, I think we should push even harder, make sure that our stock show world and the stock show kids have that respect for the flag that you and I, that many of those people out there listening to us do. We need to make sure that is ingrained into their head and that they can appreciate that flag for what it is, because I promise you, in the schools and outside of the stock show arena, it's going to be the opposite.
Again, I had the most travel issues today because I really wanted to be able to research this. So, first off, the Olympics, they're not allowing any spectators, which that's just bullshit. But anyway, but I did see something on Facebook that said that the Olympics is not allowing any Black Lives Matters T-shirts, gear, whatever you want to call it, to be there, and that they are not going to tolerate any disrespecting of any country's flag in whatsoever at all. So my point is, if this is all true and they're going to do this and they're going to enforce all this, why aren't the Olympics racist?
I agree 100%. And I think that's why China is now threatening nuclear bombing of Japan.
Over the Olympics?
Over the Olympics, because they won't allow the Black Lives Matters and the disrespectful flag.
That has nothing to do with it.
Maybe it has something to do with Taiwan, but we can
to do with Taiwan, you fool.
I am with you. I don't know if that is accurate. I have not researched it, Ryan, but I hope that is true, and I hope that Olympic Committee there in Japan is actually doing that. That is. Well, huge.
I mean, if they are, I think it's great and wonderful, because I don't think I don't think any country's flag should be disrespected. Americans. I don't want our flag disrespected. I don't want like Switzerland's flag disrespected. Anybody. But again, if they're really going to do this, and this is true, I would think they would be called the most racist.
I would think so. But you know what? The fact that we're talking about an Olympic Committee or Japan standing up for what's right and that we're excited about it, that puts us in a sad place.
It's a very sad day.
This should just be expected.
Yeah, no, that's not.
That's where we're at. I hope that resonates with some of our listeners out there. That's where we're at, and it's not good. I have one more current event, and we've gone way long. I told you we could have a Beyond the Circus.
Again, Dale, I'm a little busy.
Hey, we just need to work it in somewhere. We just need to do it. There's stuff going on in the world that we need to address. Pegasus. Have you heard about Pegasus?
Pegasus is a flying unicorn that doesn't exist.
Yep, it is something like that. You're going to hear more about this, Ryan. I'm not going to say a lot about it right now, but it's malware. It's on every iPhone and every Android, and it allows, I guess, the extraction of anything from your phone, from pictures to text to voice recordings. Everything can be extracted. It's real. It's out there. It's malware. I'm gonna leave it at that. And you're going to hear, we're recording early this week. You're going to hear more, I'm sure, before this episode drops. But just think about it or look into it a little bit. Pegasus, you're going to hear a lot more about it.
I thought you bought me a horse with wings and I wasn't going to have to fly anymore.
I wish that was it, because this is the biggest invasion of privacy and governmental control that I've ever imagined could happen. And it's right there in every one of our hands. And I'm sure people are thinking you're crazy. But it's there. It's real. Look it up. You're going to hear more about it. I'm not going to go any further because we are very long on current events.
I was really excited that I had a horse with wings.
Yeah, and I'm with a little glitter.
I tried to buy a unicorn yesterday, and they wouldn't let me.
How'd that work out?
And they didn't want to let me. It was rude. I don't know why they got a big old fancy sparkly unicorn in a store if they don't want somebody to buy it, but they don't.
So it's just decorative, I assume?
Yeah, but it could be decorative at Gay Hill.
No, I agree. I understand.
I had so many problems with the North Dakota of it all. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
it was troublesome.
I can.
They wouldn't let me buy a unicorn. All the Uber drivers are liberal. I was
you were having issues
with the most.
Well, we're still in that 5.5 month window that you have topics lined up for us.
Yeah, it's week 2.
A great one today. Opinions are like, well, you know.
Yep.
This episode is going to address the fact that all judges have their own opinion, and many judges are not going to agree with each other, nor with you. It just is what it is.
And this sounds real simple, but I give this speech a lot, and I see the looks on these people's faces when I give it, and I don't, why they may have known it, to hear it out loud, it triggers something in them, because again, I look at the audience faces and I see the light bulbs go off and I see them go, oh yeah, I didn't think about that and stuff like that. But and this sounds real simple, but I think we forget it. And I know that I have forgotten it when I was on the other side of the ring, when I had an animal showing or I was showing an animal and stuff like that. But here is the thing. All judging is just an opinion, and it is subjective. And we have talked about how genetics and environment affect everything about a human being, and all these things go into this. But it's just an opinion. It does not make that opinion right. It does not make that opinion wrong. But on that day, in that show arena, what it does make is that opinion is official. Now, if we could just all get a better perspective of that, then I think we would be so much farther along than where we are right now.
I think we would, Ryan. But you alluded to it when you're on the other side of the fence. I think it's human nature to not want to accept that, especially when you're so emotionally tied to wanting to get along and everything that comes along with it.
And I say things on here that are unpopular and get me hate mail, and I don't care because it's true. Some people's opinions should not be official. Some of people's opinions are wrong. And that is just the truth. I think that is a very small number of the people that actually step into arenas and do this, but there are those cases.
And with those cases, Ryan, I'm going to stand up for them. Those few times that person's opinion should not be heard, as long as they're out there giving their opinion and not a political bias coming into play, I do not hold it against that judge. But who do I hold that?
The person that hired the person that has the bad opinion. Yes. No,
and those people, sometimes we don't even know who they are.
No, because again, and we talked about this a couple episodes ago, very few people are going to say no. They're just not. I mean, they're just not going to say no.
We did that episode. Now everybody's saying no. Right. I heard that it was sweeping the nation.
I think people are canceling. There's a difference. I don't think they're saying no, because if they were saying no, then they wouldn't have to be calling me and all these other people to fill in at the last minute. So I think they're still not saying no. They're just canceling, which was the second part of that episode. If you say yes, show up. They're not listening to that part. They didn't listen to any of it. But
no,
back to this deal on judging being opinion. And I talk to people about this a lot and not just on a microphone and a ring, but I say, it needs to be a well-informed, a well-educated, a current, there are people that 20 years ago probably were in all species were probably the best judges in America, but they haven't been to a show in 10 years and maybe they didn't keep up with it or whatever. So 20 years ago does not make it right now. And so the person,
but they still have that opinion. And again, it's not their fault. Maybe
no, but I'm just saying the opinions that go out there and sort shows, they need to be educated. They need to be current. They need to be informed about things and active and all these things. But at the end of the day, it is just an opinion. And as long as that opinion is honest, it is not tainted, political, biased, all those things. And whoever that person is that's standing out in the middle of the ring, and this is where things go wrong. I'm telling you right now, this is where things go wrong. If they would just be able to explain their opinion on why the stuff is lined up the way they are. And it doesn't have to be, a Trump speech or, some eloquent thing, or if they could, even in, just common everyday terms where the majority of the people on the outside could say, you know what? I see what he's saying. I see what she's saying. I still think that one should win, but I see why she put it third or why he put it second. There would be no problems.
If that happens, people around ringside and exhibitors are usually at peace.
Right. There would be no problems. That is where the hiccup is. It's between, but they can't get it out on the microphone why that is their opinion.
And that is all we're seeing of them is not all we're seeing, but that is what we're judging them upon or forming an opinion upon that judge, how well they're explaining themselves more times than not.
Right.
I do that more so than what they place the animal.
Again, I'm not saying that you have to be funny or eloquent or, make people cry or anything like that. But when what is out there in the ring does not match what's coming over the microphone, that's when people get angry. And that I think that's when people forget that it is just an opinion because the person out there isn't being able to back up their opinion.
I agree completely, Ryan. I'm going to take this into a specific direction. And I think this is happening more than not. And I don't know if it's just because the judges are not seeing it. If they're intentionally, I don't know. I'm going to use soundness and pigs. And maybe it's just that every one of us has a different level of what's acceptable. But how many times do you hear him talking about how sound that hog is? And if you and I were to walk in that ring, we'd probably throw him away on soundness.
Yeah, but and I'm not saying you're not correct, but I think it is more of a thing that, like, when they say, and the big deal on the sinus thing, you and I are so far out on the outer limits of it.
I'm there with you. I agree.
It's whatever, but like, I really believe it's more like when they'll say that one is heavier muscle than the other, and it's not. It's not even close. And again, I don't think these people are intentionally lying on the microphone. I think that we have come to a spot that a broad section of the people just think, well, you have to say these certain things about the first place animal because you put it in first. And then, second one's real good, but not as good here. That's not how this works anymore.
So it's more about justifying the placing than describing what's in front of you, is what's.
I think that's where they're screwing up.
I agree. I see that, and
I think that's where they're screwing up, because I almost every show I judge, I say, I don't want any of y'all to agree with me. It's fine if you do. It's fine if you don't. Whatever. But I'm simply going to describe these animals to you the way that I see them. And again, if you don't agree with how it's lined up, that's great, because that's your opinion. This is mine. But I want you to know what I'm seeing out here.
Simple enough.
And I think that is part of it. And that's where part of the drama and part of the hiccups come. But I also think that, because I'm as guilty as anybody, when you're on that other side and things don't go your way, and like, you forget that just because what you would have done or what you think should have happened didn't, doesn't mean that person's opinion isn't just as equally valued or important as yours a lot of times. Now, I said earlier, sometimes that's not the case, but most of the times it is. And so don't, just because it didn't go your way, well, this sucks. I mean, yeah, everybody wants to win and all this other stuff, because I'm telling you, I get frustrated going to shows sometimes, and I have nothing in them. I can't tell you how many times I've had nothing there. I'm just like, this isn't even close. So I get it. And so then when you have a vested interest in it, and you have an animal out there, a kid out there, an ag student, whatever, it's even worse. But we've got to be able just to rein it in just a little bit. But I really do believe that if we just, as a whole, the people on the outside took some deep breaths and tried to see it without barn goggles on as much, and the people inside holding the microphone, if they would just pay a little more attention to what they say, I think a lot of this would go away.
Just real simple. Describe the differences. Don't try to justify. Don't try to talk them into it.
I don't know why this is a thing. I think there are more people out there that want to prove that they are right and other people are wrong. And that concept's completely off.
No,
do you understand what I'm saying?
I see some of that. I do. No, I think you're on track. I think there's another issue that if they're, and we've already said this, but if they're going out there and doing a true, honest job, I guess we cannot legislate morality, but we have to find a way, Ryan, somehow to instill respectability back into giving the opportunity to judge a livestock show. And Ryan, I've heard you state how you take the duty as a judge as a responsibility to do the best job you can, provide a positive experience in the ring, describe the livestock accurately in a manner that everyone can understand. And I think that resonated with me. I believe maybe I heard you talk about that at Arizona, but I've used that, and I think about that when I walk into the ring, that we are being afforded an honor, and we owe those exhibitors, those young people, those people putting on the show, everybody ringside, we owe them to do the very best job we can, period, and take our responsibilities very serious. and provide that positive experience, provide an honest description or give an honest description. And that's all you can ask.
To me, it is a responsibility. And I mean, I know I probably said that at Phoenix, and maybe that was the first time you ever heard it or whatever, but like it is a responsibility. And I think a lot of times we forget that because there's so much more that goes on in terms of being a show judge than just actually lining up and talking to animals. I think that gets missed a lot, but there is. And so that's where the responsibility part of it, to me, comes in play. But I do think that, and nothing's ever going to be perfect. And again, I'm not the rainbows, butterflies person on this podcast. That would be the other one. But anyway, I do think that if we all, and this is just like the whole reason for this podcast, why this is out there, why we talk about different things each week, because we've got to get better. We have to continue to improve in everything. And when we do that and we talk about the issues that are out there that need to be addressed and need to be faced and that need to be better from all angles, whether it is a judge, whether it is a superintendent, or a show manager, a parent, an ag teacher, a breeder, whatever, that's when our whole industry grows and gains and becomes even more fabulous. And that is what the end goal is. At least that's what my end goal is.
I think that's an excellent end goal, and I think we're both on the same page. And when I stop and think about it, Ryan, you and I can agree that when we step in the ring, we're going to take that as a responsibility. We're going to be on the same page on a lot of things. However, I can go from my personal experiences about making things that influence how I judge a show or influences my opinion of livestock. It's going to go back to making breeding decisions that I've made, what works best in my operation. I often find myself appreciating what is difficult for me to breed into an animal, and those unique traits may hold more value to me as a breeder than maybe somebody else. And then my practical side, setting goats aside, Ryan, pushes me to attempt to select animals with maybe more functional value that still have that show ring presence. So if you want to see a prime example of people, Ryan and myself, that maybe share a lot of the very same opinions in terms of how you should conduct yourself, what your purpose is there, yet are going to see livestock different, come to one of the shows that we're doing rings A and B, Ryan. I'm going to guess we're not going to always be the same.
No, and when that happens, you will be wrong. But
exactly.
Other than that,
exactly.
No, but like, and again, that's the whole thing about opinions is I have never claimed to be the smartest person that ever stepped in a livestock ring and was given a microphone. I don't believe that. And I would never even think of that. I think that in terms of being honest, trying to describe each animal as accurately and articulately as I can, and wanting those kids to know they are valued, they are worthy, they are special and individual, I think I'm really pretty good at all of those things and would be up there, close to the top. Not at the top, but close. But and people harp on me a lot because of my obsession with structural integrity and all this stuff. But so, like Dale was talking about how his opinion is influenced by all of these things. My opinion is influenced by the fact that when I was showing steers extremely competitively, they weren't very sound. None of them were. It wasn't just mine that were winning. None of them were. And so when you had to show those and try to show the faults out of them structurally and all, it was very hard.
It has an influence on you. No
and
question.
It did. And then also, when I went to the other side and I helped families and did all these things and picking animals out and stuff like that, I found there was so many things that you could do or feed or tweak and all of these things other than structure. There wasn't much that you could fix there. And like, if you started one that was iffy on structure, there was no pill, there was no supplement, there was no nothing that could help keep that one together, improve that. And so those are my influences, why I am so strongly based on the fact that they have to be built good from the ground up, etc. And again, that's just what has happened to me in my experience, and that's how it influences that opinion that I give in the ring. That doesn't make it right. But also, I don't tell people that every day in the ring because we don't go back and tell old war stories and all that stuff. But if you listen to this, or you ever heard me talking to people when they ask me that question, that's what I tell them. So again, there's going to be stuff like that in every judge that none of us know that influences that opinion. And since you haven't had that experience or had those things, you may not agree with it, but that doesn't make what happened in that person's life and what influenced their opinion of what needs to be prioritized and emphasized in different species of livestock wrong. It just means y'all don't agree. And if we all had the same opinion, there'd be one show a year, and that'd be pretty boring.
No, I think you're exactly on right. And I think that more people are becoming more realistic that the same animal's not going to win in back-to-back shows. And I think those shows that are having rings A and B on the same day, and you've had them in the South for a long time, but here in the past few years, they've become more popular in the North. And I think it's exposing people to those opinions back-to-back on the same day. And under that situation, people are opening their eyes. Well, wow, there's two really good judges, and they use different champions. They use different class winners. There were some similarities, but there were also some differences, and that's okay. They described them accurately. They just had a different personal preference that may have gone back to whatever experience in life or wherever their priorities were formed, just like you were talking about.
And again, part of it is, and it's a thing that goes overlooked, and it's something that should be celebrated and talked about way more than what it is. But part of it is the animals and the families and the brokers and the breeders, they're getting just so much better at this that there's not just that one at a show, whatever size the show is, that's just, by God, that one has to win. And the larger the show and the more prestigious the show, then there's multiples. And I don't remember what podcast it was that we talked about the fact, but like, there's not a whole lot of people that want to admit that when you go to a major show, there may be 5 to 12 of them that, depending on who's out there in the ring, that animal can definitely be justified to win a major show. People don't want to talk about that because that isn't something that seems like should be a popular opinion, and I think it should just be the most popular and publicized, because that just means we're making so many improvements.
Right, it'd be interesting. You could take the judges that judge the 5 largest goat shows in the country, market goat shows in the country that year, bring them all together at one show, and if it's a very competitive show, let's say one of the national shows, they are going to land on different animals. Not all of them,
but there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and I think that's the prime example. It just is what it is, and we have to be accepting of that. That doesn't mean we can't do better. That doesn't mean we can't put more effort into describing them accurately, into doing a being very respectful out in that ring and making it a positive. We can do a lot of things better, but what we can't do is blame that judge for having a sincere opinion if it's not politically biased and they've done a genuine job of trying to sort and describe those livestock.
No, and that's the whole.
It's
purpose.
Easy to do. It's too easy to do. I've done it. I am guilty, period. I just am. I get emotionally involved. I think this has to be this way. And I'm on both sides of that fence, and I'd rather be on the judging side, because this other side, emotions, everything come into play more than they should.
No, and I that's why I wanted this topic and bring this up, because again, I'm guilty of it. I don't think there's a person that has been to a handful of shows that hasn't been guilty of it. But take a deep breath, step back, realize it's just an opinion. There's another show next weekend with a different opinion that you can go to and pay for and all that. But let's respect, even in the whole thing is, even when the opinion is bad and that person probably should not be out there doing, and that happens. I'm going to say it again. I know that happens. I don't, have on rose-colored glasses. Let's understand that we're going to run into that sometimes. Write that person's name on a piece of paper, cement it in your mind, whatever. Don't go exhibit under that person again. If someone asks you their opinion of that judge, give them an honest one so other people will know. But don't go on the internet and say stupid shit. And, let's not do that. There are ways, and this is going to be a topic, and so I'm not going to get into it, but there are ways to handle situations, negative situations and positive situations, but let's just take it for what it is, take a deep breath, roll on to the next one.
I love it. I think this, and when you threw this topic out there in your mass 1 hour topic creation, I guess we could call it, Ryan, this was one that jumped out at me. And sometimes you and I talk about things that we assume because you and I agree on it, that all the others should already see it that way. But I think they are. I think exhibitors, families, stock show world, they're becoming more accepting of the fact that there are different opinions. I think we all can, when we're not at a show, we can logically think through that. Now we have to work on the fact when we're at that show and we have a child in that ring or a student in that ring or can connect it in some way. Ryan talks about taking that deep breath. That's where it's hard to do. We can do it when we're not actively involved or we're away from it for a few days or whatever, but we've got to be able to do it in the heat of the moment as well.
Yeah, because that's when the world is watching. So.
Yes, and the world is watching, by the way. They are watching closely. Are you good on that? Are you ready to move on?
No, it's your favorite topic.
We have
whatever.
How many would you like today? You pick the number. You pick the number.
I had a very stressful day, Dale. Very stressful day.
Well, I found 3 good ones.
Okay.
I spent, now, sometimes I'm digging up question and answer as we're recording and talking, but I was able, because your flight was delayed, I was able to actually go in and search and make sure I didn't miss any. I found some pretty good ones.
Joey.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Sibley submits a question. I love the podcast, and I would die to witness a glitter slap. However, I notice Ryan does not do this at all shows. Can a show request that you do a glitter slap? Why do you glitter slap some and not all the champions? That is not a hard question, Ryan. That is not that needs to be just answered.
Not a hard question.
I can answer that one for you if you'd like.
Right. I would love to hear your answer, and I will let you. But
I'll give it after you give yours.
I'm not mad that this person asked this. And
you shouldn't be. It's a good question.
Okay, Dale, calm down over there.
I spent hours searching for these questions through all these, sorting through them.
So here's the thing with the glitter slap. I've had this in my mind for I don't know how many years, and I held on to it because I wanted it to be first time I judged a major junior show. And so when Arizona National called, I was like, okay, this is it. And so I didn't know how it would be received, and I really didn't care because y'all know that I really don't care much about what people think about me. So, but it was so well received and got so much, love and traction and all this other stuff. I was like, hey, well, other people thought it was cool. No, I do not glitter slap every single show or every single animal. And I want to say this first. Do I believe that every child that shows livestock is worthy of a glitter slap? Sure, I do. And I think that the time that they spend in the show barn and in the show ring and the things that they're going to learn and make them prosper, and the connections that they make and the attributes and all of those things that they gather from this experience, that's going to get them a glitter slap in the game of life in some way, somehow, some fashion. I'm never going to glitter slap every show. I'm never going to glitter slap every animal. No, you can't request it. The thing for me is I want the glitter slap to be something that is spontaneous. You don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to happen. It's been in every species. It's been at a major show. It's been at a state fair. I mean, I even did one at a county fair one time. And it is just when I know that animal, that moment, that what needs to be signaled out, remembered in some fabulously spectacular way. And it's just my judgment call. And again, it's just my opinion. Funny that this comes up on this one, but and so I don't want it to be something that anybody knows when it's going to happen. Because if I did it every show, everyone's going to know it's going to happen. They're going to expect it. I never want something to do with the glitter slap to be expected or ordinary or we've seen that. That would defeat the whole purpose of it. Completely, totally defeat the whole purpose of it. And so yeah, it will continue to be spontaneous and exclusive and only for moments that I just think are once in a lifetime type events or animals or situations. And if you don't like that, I'm real sorry, but that's how it is.
Ryan, that question caused you no pain at all.
That
was too easy. So if I'm a superintendent at a county fair in Delaware, we're going to go back to Joe Biden's state.
Why?
And I ask you to come out and judge our county show. Say it's a steer show. And you come up with your expenses, and it's a $1,200 expenses. We're going to pay you a little bit above that for your time. And I say, Ryan, what if I double that? What if I give you $5,000 to come do our steer show if you'll glitter slap the champion?
It's not going to happen.
You cannot be bought, can you?
No. No one's offered me $5,000 for a glitter slap, but they have said, hey, if you'll glitter slap, we'll pay more. Like, people have like brought glitter to the ring and all that stuff. And it gets a little uncomfortable but I'm not going to give in. I'm just not. Because again, this is something that is solely me. And I just don't want it ever to be expected or ordinary. I want it to be elusive and spontaneous and mysterious. And I know when it needs to happen. It is obvious. It is, I can tell. Okay, for instance, Virginia, a couple of weeks ago, I had a great sheep show the first day. Lovely girl. I mean, killer showman wins sheep show with a good badass sheep. She didn't get a glitter slap. Next day, goat show, overwhelming in terms of quality. I mean, just off the charts. They got a glitter slap. It's just how it is. That's just how it is. So.
Just that way. I think, Ryan, I think that it is because the way you're doing this, when that exhibit gets that glitter slap, that is an experience that I don't think they're ever going to forget. And I think you've done a very nice job with it. I don't like giving you credit for many things, but this is special, and those kids work to be in a position someday to get that glitter slap, just like they do to win a national show. It's pretty special.
Well,
I commend you for doing
nice.
It's hard. Okay, are you ready?
Second question. Mm-hmm.
Brandon submits this. I think Brandon is attempting to cause major disruption in our podcast, by the way.
Oh, good.
But I remember we're not racist. We're not discriminatory against any questions that are submitted, are we? We had one a couple episodes ago that we should have just skipped. I don't remember which one it was now.
I do, but next.
Okay. But we don't do that. We just jump right in. I think you guys are the absolute best. See here, he's kind of sucking up at first.
Oh, shit.
I often hear you disagree about form to function and relating show stock to the real world or talk about their carcass value. Is it possible to address this topic in further detail as a main topic?
Do you want Dell and I to kill each other?
It would be entertaining, I'm sure.
But what would that topic be?
I think just selection criteria.
No, I mean, if y'all want me to sit here for 40 minutes an hour and tell Dell how he's wrong and dumb about form to function and that there's nothing form to function in the show ring anymore, I am more than willing to do that. I love yelling.
We don't want
Dale.
anything to base the show ring off of. It should be just totally anybody's subjective opinion. Nothing, no base whatsoever.
Again, I'm just keeping it real, people.
You're doing it indirectly. We both agree that we both emphasize skeletal integrity so heavily for the exact reasons you explained earlier. But
that has nothing to do with form to function. That has to do with the fact I hated showing bucked over steers.
Correct, but indirectly you're selecting for form to function, even though it's not for the right reason, and that's okay.
Okay, but see that is my point, sir. It has nothing to do with the reasons that you want it to.
It's because of longevity. It's they can continue to be in the breeding
Brandon,
operation
this is
longer.
what you want. You want 40 minutes of this chaos. Go right ahead. Great.
I think he does. What about mentioning that maybe this animal would fit into our industry from a carcass standpoint just once?
The show in North Dakota last weekend, I almost talked about cutability, and I would have cut my tongue out. So no,
but it did cross your mind.
Yes, it was literally about to come out, and I saw your face.
I love it. But the fact that you're so critical on skeletal integrity, but it's all back to because you don't like showing a cripple.
Right. I hated it. It was terrible. It was awful.
It couldn't be anything
so hard.
You can't just pretend like it's because we want some longevity in the herd or anything like that.
Well, and then also, not only did I have to show those steers that were struck, then they put me in the Simmental breed. And again, not to offend any Simmental people, but back in those days, it was horrible.
How was snap, pack, pop, and crackle, however you talk about
the Simmental shuffle, snap, crackle, pop. Whoa.
Bad.
So it was bad. Coming at me from both directions. But yeah. So again, Brandon, we will take this under advisement, but all you're going to have is like 40 minutes of me yelling.
It could be entertaining, Brandon, and I appreciate the question, and maybe we should
Brandon,
hire you for
why don't you come up
ideas
with some bullet points and a title, and then get back to us?
Very good answer. Very good answer. Next comes to us from Sam. I have not missed an episode. Ryan, that's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Yeah, very impressive.
I can't remember.
I haven't missed one either, by the way.
You've come close, I think.
Yeah,
remember that one we had to bring
Snowpocalypse.
I have not missed an episode, and I'm your guys' biggest fan. See, we've got three people that really, Brandon, I'm not sure where he's coming from, but the other two, I think, truly like the podcast.
Yeah, I think Brandon's just probably a pawn from one of the other podcasts trying to make us derail.
It could be.
He's a plant.
It is possible. I showed at my junior national a couple weeks ago, and Ryan's name was brought up as a judge for next year. One of the board members mentioned that he is not a possibility as he is booked more than a year in advance. Is this accurate?
Okay.
That seems simple enough, right?
This is funny. So, I do not like booking over a year in advance at all, and I'm not going to lie to people and say that sometimes I'm not booked over a year in advance, because it does happen.
There are some dates that you are committed already.
Right. But
over a year.
Here's the whole thing. And this goes back to the county fair thing and all this other stuff. If I was asked to judge a junior national or a state fair, and I mean, I can use this year as an example. I'm going to judge a state fair in the next couple of weeks. And yes, I was already booked on that date.
I remember something about this.
Right, because you're filling in for me. But anyway, I called the other show. I said, hey, the state fair has called. They have asked me, can I find you another judge? Can I come another year, etc.? Because the whole thing, and this kind of goes back to what I said earlier in the deal, the whole thing with me is I'm not going to tell you that I'm the smartest person out there sorting. I'm going to tell you that I don't think anybody tries any harder or wants to connect with those kids or make them feel any better about who they are as a person. I can reach 10 times as many kids at a junior national or state fair as I can a county fair or jackpot show. And that's just simple math. And so when those opportunities come up, of course I will, if I am booked already, I will go to that show and say, let me make this right to you another year. Let me do this. Let me go to this show. Let me have this experience with these kids. Because of that, I can reach so many more. I have yet to have someone throw a big fit, say, no, you can't do that. You have to come to my show. That's just not how it is, because I think we all want the same things, and we all want more and more kids to benefit. And a lot of county fairs want me to come back 2 years in a row, and county fairs are great, but they don't understand that when I judge their county fair, I probably turned down 3 others that same week. So if I went there twice, then that's not getting to reach another set of kids in a different part of the country or a different state. So that's why I try not to do county fairs 2 years in a row. But if a junior national or state fair or something like that calls major show and I am booked, I'm going to say that with 99.99999% certainty that I'll be able to get out of it and judge that junior national. So whoever this was, you tell them to listen to this podcast, because that's not exactly right. I mean, yes, I do have bookings, a lot of bookings, months and even some over a year out, but it's not every single weekend. And everything is subject to change on an event like that. I mean, I have yet to had to cancel on somebody, in a very short time, and I would never do that. But state fairs and junior nationals normally call their judges months and months in advance. So that would give me months and months in advance for that show if I was booked to find another person or me to help them find another person. And I would go back to that show on a different year and sort their show for them. So yeah, if that's an issue, it doesn't need to be an issue.
And like this year, it was a showdown in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And they when I visited with them about it, they seemed to understand there wasn't an issue.
No, and never in the few times that situation has it ever been an issue. And again, I think because everybody wants the best for everybody, and that's just how it is. But yeah, so whoever this was, you go tell whoever told you that to listen to this. If they don't like the podcast, just tell them to skip to the end. It will be fine. And bringing up talking about bookings and stuff like that. I get at least one something every single day about booking shows. Not gonna be booking in 2023 just yet, because we got big things on the way that we're not going to talk about just now. But like I said, things can change daily. But I know that we have got something that we're going to announce here in the next couple of weeks that I think is going to be big and change the livestock industry in a good way and make things better. And I don't think it's going to prevent me from judging any shows, but I do think it's going to be a big deal, and I can't wait to announce that.
Would you like me to go ahead and announce it right now?
We're not announcing now.
Ryan, it's been another enjoyable episode. Thank you for your time and your honesty. Hopefully the listeners will enjoy it. Until next week, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?